Okay, I'm going to explain how can you do a state-of-the-art research. One of the things that I do is that when I don't know only a few things about an item, I search first at Wikipedia. So let me show you an example. Imagine that I don't know anything about database marketing. I just put the global words into the Wikipedia, and then I see if the subject arises, and then I read to get a general view about the concept and to understand what are the main keywords like direct marketing, data warehouses, and whatsoever. So I never cite a Wikipedia because you don't know who is the author, and the content is always changing, but it's a good way to get a general view about a given subject. And at the end you have these references, which these ones you can cite, and you can get a closer look to some of the authors and some of the references that matter regarding this subject. Sometimes I even use Wikipedia in a different way. For instance, if I'm writing a paper and I don't know how to do annotation in terms of math or something like that, so I can use Wikipedia, and then I can check the notation. So if I want to use, in this case, the median value, I can use this symbol over X. So this is how I use Wikipedia. Once you know how to use, know more about the global subject and what are the most important keywords, then the next thing that I do is that I go to Google Scholar. And I simply enter some of the items, and in this case I want to search about database marketing and data mining, so I do a simple search, and it shows several references that are useful, and these references are ranked by importance, relevance to the query, and also by the number of citations. For example, this is a paper that has 4,000 citations, so it's a very important paper, and it was a paper that first introduces the concept of data mining and knowledge discovery from databases. Anyway, what is interesting with the Google Scholar is that you have an immediate access to most of these items that appear here. If I use the internet access of my university, I have even access to the full details of the article, even if there's a copyright issue. So I can read more about a given paper, or I can save the PDF file, because my university has the permission for a huge number of journal articles. And what is interesting is that another thing is that if you can configure Google Scholar in your settings, and to do that you can sign in. You can set what is the bibliographic system that you use to manage all your references. And in my case, since I use LaTeX, I like to import all the items into BibTeX. So if I do a simple click, in most cases, it gives the full citation details that I need in my writings, scientific writings, and I just do a copy and paste, for instance, in this case of this thing, and it will work perfectly well in terms of building the set of references that I need. But if you use other types of bibliographic management systems, you can configure them like EndNotes or something like that. Another thing is that sometimes you don't have access to a given paper, but you can click the all 5 versions, and the official paper appears at the top of this page. But sometimes, if you don't have access to this paper, you can go down, and sometimes the first author or something like that puts the same paper in his web page or something like that, so you can have access from a different way. Another thing that is quite interesting is that if you found that this paper is very useful for you, then probably people who cite this paper, and you can check here, so these are the papers that cite the previous one, And some of these papers, which are more recent, of course, than the previous one, might be useful for your research purposes as well. So this is a very interesting feature. Another very interesting feature is that sometimes you only want to access recent work, because you can see that this is from 96, 98. So you can select which is the year that you want to have to do the query. And in this case, I'm only going to search for publications after 2010. So you can see that now you have more recent work around the subject of database marketing, data mining. So you can have very recent papers like this, 2011, another one, 2011. Not all of these papers are about database marketing and data mining. So we have to, because for instance, this paper, this is a book and it's only about data mining, but you can browse down the query and search more deeply into what are the references that you might find useful. Sometimes when I'm doing a query, I just don't limit to the first 10 references, but I go to the first 50 or whatsoever. So I do quite a browsing in all these references to find what is the most suited references for me. And if I find something interesting, I read the title, I read the abstract, and if it's catchy for me, then I even might download the paper and then do a further read later. Another thing that is interesting is that if you use Google Scholar, there's this Google Scholar citations, where you can search for all the works of a given author. In this case, I'm showing myself. So these are some of my keywords in terms of research interests. And here appears some numbers in terms of citations. For instance, this paper, Particle Swarms, is a paper that has most Google Scholar citations, in this case 104. And what is interesting is that if you want to evaluate a given research author, a very fast way to do that is to analyze this H index, and in my case it's 15, and basically it's stated how many publications do you have that have at least this number of citations. So in this case I have 15 publications that has at least 15 citations each. So probably are these ones, okay, that build my H value. And you can search for the authors as well. Another interesting web system search for things related with research and to do a state-of-the-art is Microsoft Academic Research. And you can search for the best organizations giving a given topic. So there are several topics. In this case, I'm showing the top organizations in terms of data mining. And you can see that some of them are quite well known, such as Stanford University, IBM, Cornell, etc. And it shows the overall H index for the organization. You can do the same thing in Microsoft Academic Research for authors. So you can see that, for instance, Han, which is the author of several books and has a huge number of publications, as you can see here, is ranked as the top author of this data mining topic, but there are also other quite well-known data mining authors. And if you want, you can even do a query. For instance, I can search for myself, after a while it will show you. So here is an example, and then you can see that this is my information related with me, some of my research topics. You can see that the H index is a little bit lower than the Google Scholar, but the way Microsoft Academic Research tracks citations is a little bit different, and they are more restrictive. Another thing that is very useful to do research in a given topic is that you may want to know what are the best conferences, and you can do that as well in Microsoft Academic Research. and in this case I'm searching for the best conferences in data mining, and you can see the number of publications that a given conference has and the number of citations. And again, Microsoft Academic Research ranks this based on relevance and the number of citations per publications. But you can see that the famous KDD conferences is ranked at first place. So this is very useful if you want to do a thing that is called scanning. That is, imagine that you want to know what are the most recent research subjects in a given domain. So if you look at these conferences, probably you can browse and see the proceedings of 2010, 2011, and look at all the papers that were published in these conferences to get a view of what are the trendy issues, what is being done more recently in these highly important conferences. If you want to know what are the highly important journals, I prefer to use SCImago, which is also backed by my engineering school of my university. And here you can search for journal rankings. You can select as well the subject. And in this case, the most recent ranking that was in 2011 shows some papers. The higher this value, that is SJR, means the higher the relevance of the journal. And you can see that some important journals, such as Journal of Machine Learning Research, is ranked at 6th place. And these are the most relevant journals within the field of artificial intelligence. They are the fields like computer science applications, etc., etc. You can search for other categories. Another way to search for the best journals is to use ISI Web of Knowledge, and in particular, what is important is the impact factor, which is measured by this JCR index. And the journals are classified into several categories. Here I'm selecting computer science and artificial intelligence, and I'm going to view a journal by impact factor, and I submit the query, and you can see that here appears the best journals according to ISI, and some of the journals are the same that appear in the SCImago index, but the order it's not necessarily identical. You can see that Journal of Machine Learning Research is ranked at 8th place here. If you want to know more about how to do research and how to build a state-of-the-art, a very good state-of-the-art, then you can look at this small report that I have written that is entitled Some Scholarly Communication Guidelines, and you can search, you should read this report, which is available here. Okay, thank you, and I will stop.